Welcome to the MindWise podcast, presenting perspective and information about holistic mental health, healthcare, wellness. I am your host, Ron Parks, MD, writer, teacher, and consultant. Today's topic is titled Tevye and the Pogroms. We will reflect on the classic movie, the 1939 American Yiddish film based on Tevye, the dairyman from Shalom Aleichem's famous stories, and his struggles to survive the antisemitism and the pogroms of Western Ukraine. The movie was a forerunner of the popular musical and the movie Fiddler on the Roof. Initially, the Tevye 1939 film was lost, but it was rediscovered in 1978 and recognized for its cultural significance, becoming the first non-English film preserved by the National Film Registry. Tevye is a masterpiece within the little-known U.S. Yiddish language cinema, recreated the 19th century life and meager subsistence of Jews as a beleaguered minority in the rural Ukrainian village. The film and story is a very relevant topic today, with the surge in hate, division, extremism, and antisemitism. With my interest in psychology and neuroscience, we will delve into these aspects of Tevye's and society's challenge during his time and relevance for today. Also, we will present some tips and points to ponder and maybe some possible solutions. The film centers on Tevye, a milkman in the village, and his wife and daughters. Chava falls in love with a local Christian boy, while her sister Hodel begins a romance with a revolutionary young Jewish student. Unlike the original Shalom Aleichem stories, the film provides a more intimate and troubling portrait of the times. The anti-Semitic climate of the time was, in the film's background, poignantly showing the challenge faced by the Jews in those harsh times in a community with marked prejudice. Tevye, a devout and resilient man, is confronted with the hardships of his life, pogroms, and the discrimination his family endures, and eventual eviction from the village with the tyrannical Russian politics, anti-Semitism, and pogroms. Despite the turmoil, Tevye maintains his faith, stands firm in adversity, and shows resilience and determination in preserving his tradition and spiritual ways. The central figure of Tevye in the movie resembles, to me, in some respects, the biblical Job, the righteous family man who suffers from horrible losses but is able, with his despair, to remain devout to his belief and faith. Pogroms and anti-Semitism. Pogroms is a Russian-derived word meaning wreak havoc, to demolish violently. Historically, the term refers to the violent attacks by local non-Jewish population on Jews in the Russian Empire of the time. As a descriptive term, pogroms came into common use with extensive anti-Jewish riots that swept the southern and western province of Russian Empire in the early 1880s, following the assassination of the Tsar. The perpetrators of the pogroms included people in the region, the government, and the police. The murderous gangs assaulted their Jewish victims, murdered them, often looted their properties. During the civil war that followed in 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution, Ukrainian nationalists, Polish officials, and Red Army soldiers all engaged in pogrom violence in the western province, which is now Ukraine, killing tens of thousands of Jews between 1980 and 1920. In Germany and Eastern Europe during the era of the Holocaust, as in Tsarist Russia, economic, social, and political resentments and perpetuated false stories and narratives about Jews reinforced traditional Jewish anti-Semitism. All these elements served as a pretext for the murderous pogroms. The events and storyline of the movie Tevye foreshadowed the horrific murder of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust and the Nazi reign of terror. With current conflicts in the Middle East, extreme political polarization, and hate propaganda on social platforms, antisemitism is resurgent in the U.S. and around the world. Again, many of the same elements raise their ugly head, allowing the hate to proliferate as in the past. The balance of faith, tradition, and the openness for spirituality, realization, and illumination. Tevye always centers his life on his faith and the traditions of his Judaism. His concept of God resonates with other religions' perspectives in modern psychology. The similarities were in the reaching for a definition of the undefinable power and source beyond our limited self-knowledge that accounts for all the explainable. A sense of purpose, meaning, and security comes from believing in an all-powerful and benevolent force. Adaptability depends on our flexibility, awareness, and open-mindedness in learning. The reality is that we do not exclusively control our existence, that there's always a more significant reality or answer to what we believe or accept. Tevye, in his faith in spirituality, seemed to recognize that he was not an insular individual who controls himself or others to any great extent. He accepts he can only do what he can and strives to do the best. When called upon, he can respect the forces and nature of the immediate world and strive to do his work for himself and his family and others. His religious ideas of a greater power are a knowable source of creation that abounds around him, impacts him, to which he is subservient, is accepted with reverence and awe. In his tradition, he understands God, embraced by his tradition as the creator and orchestrator of all life. Tevye has a sense that he has the power to make ethical choices and carry out what he needs to in the best way he can. In the harrowing times, Tevye falls back on his faith and tradition for the purpose and the meaning of his continued existence and strives to meet the challenges confronting him, accepting what exists and what he can and can't change or control becomes essential. A clear perspective and acceptance of the changing, painful reality engulfing him is aided by the support he derives from his spirituality and religious beliefs. The new reality includes his family situation, inability to direct and control their lives and children, the anti-Semitic actions of the community people, and the adverse political actions of the dictatorial government and the powerful influence of the church and politics of the time. Jews were targeted and scapegoated, while the dominant population, its leaders, and the church ignored their prejudice and growing dangers of anti-Semitism. Tevye is clinging to his Jewish tradition, finds solace in times of significant loss, threatening circumstances, and challenge to his faith and belief. The hope persists that his adherence to his faith and spirituality would bring him an ethical and rewarding life. Having a balance in his orientation to all that was happening, the spiritual and the practical, so to speak, allowed him to accept the new drastic changes. He gathered his family and meager possessions and moved on to the next safer place. Spiritual openness allows one to experience joy, revelation, expansive connection beyond one's normative, limited grasp of wisdom and knowledge. It then is the challenge to integrate these more informed perspectives that come beyond our previous embraced ideas and beliefs and move forward and adapt with new direction to meet the demands of crises of the changing circumstances. Neuroscience and psychology contemplate the interface of the secular and spiritual. As an example, my interpretation of Tevye, his tradition and his spirituality, have some representation in science as understood through psychology and the neuroscience of the brain and its mental functioning. Spiritual processes such as meditation, prayer, awareness, and mindfulness allow us to be in touch with our limitations and keep perspective about things we routinely abstract or contrive. There are always possibilities beyond our usual focused perception, biases, and understanding, and perhaps misunderstandings. A mind open to the benefits of being better informed by spiritual and secular experience and activity parallels current psychology and neuroscience ideas about the optimal work and performance of our brain and mental functioning. Optimization occurs when all specialized areas work harmoniously. Problems arise when there is chronic domination by certain brain areas that inhibit the openness, spiritual awareness, and more astute context and perspective taking needed for growth and comprehension. The optimal coordination of specialized brain areas and mental performance allows for wiser, more open-mindedness and broader perspectives to adapt to changing circumstances and cooperate with others and our environment. The neuroscience of more specialized functioning of our left brain operations narrows our focus and attention to bring things or activities to a meaningful or sought-after accomplishment, reward, or success. Faith or belief, though often beneficial, can sometimes be restrictive and limiting when embracing tribal or group ideologies for support, cohesiveness, safety, and survival. Left brain processing can become more exclusive and narrowed down, limiting choice or alternatives, such as in binary or dualistic thinking, leading to narrow focused preoccupations and reasoning. Example would be extreme right or left polarized thinking seen in politics, driven by rigid ideas, belief, and hatred of others, cast as threatening or dangerous that are on the opposing side. It has been found in neuroscience that the right and left hemispheres, or specific areas of the brain, have distinct functions that each play a critical role in mental health and optimal functioning. The left brain is associated with logic, language, analytic thinking, and sequential processing, while the right brain is thought to handle creativity, intuition, holistic thinking, and emotional processing. Optimal functioning occurs when both hemispheres or specialized areas of the brain work together in harmony. However, problems can arise when there is overdominance in the left brain activity and the left brain engagement, such as 1. Imbalanced thinking. Over-reliance on left brain thinking may cause a narrow, rigid perspective and disregards emotional and intuitive aspects of decision-making. The imbalance can hinder problem-solving and creativity. 2. Emotional difficulties. If there's left brain dominance, there may be inhibition of emotional processing, leading to problems in understanding and expressing emotions, and contributing to emotional imbalance such as increased stress, indecision, anxiety, and depression. 3. Lack of creativity. The right brain is crucial for creativity and innovation. Overemphasis on left brain thinking can stifle creative thinking, limiting the ability to generate new ideas and solutions. There can be a loss of awareness, of being caught in false logic, or not grasping the bigger picture. 4. Reduced empathy. The right brain plays a significant role in empathy and understanding others' emotions. When left brain dominance occur, empathy and social skills may be impaired, affecting interpersonal relationships. The left and right brain sides of the brain have been associated with different functions and control of other processes in the body and mental functioning. When specific brain areas may dominate certain mental tasks, there is typically no dominant side. The left brain is associated with logic and analytic thinking and language processing, while the right brain is associated with creativity, intuition, and holistic thinking. Both hemispheres cooperate in most activity and language processing regions are often on the left side of the brain. The right brain is more visual, intuitive, creative, and less organized in its thinking. Balancing both hemispheres' activities is essential for optimal mental health and functioning. Engaging in activities stimulating the right brain, such as art, music, meditation, and mindfulness, can help restore balance and promote overall well-being. Tips and points to ponder. Prevention is needed to avoid the recurrent horrific cycle of division along ideologic and political extremism. A part of these cycles is the rise in authoritarian and destructive leaders and the proliferation of age-old animosities towards minorities and targeted groups. Wise and enlightened leaders need to rise to the top to foster peace, cooperation, and well-being for the populace. It is possible with strategic alliance at the highest levels, the positive use of educational programs, and the wise use of artificial intelligence and social media for the return of peaceful coexistence. Dedicated world organizations need to thrive and grow to combat destructive tribalism and selfish interests with the recognition that to exist, we all must coexist and cooperate for everyone's mutual benefit, security, health, and safety. A deeper understanding of our thinking and behavior through neuroscience and psychology might be vital to promoting peaceful coexistence. When an imbalance of the specialized areas, especially the left brain, persists, difficulties, even catastrophes, can arise in the efforts for achievement, gratification, and accomplishment. Destructive reoccurrence happens when the imbalance of the personal brain operations project into the world stage of groups and societal behavior. The presentation might occur as strife, conflict, division, or brutal acting out towards the less powerful and vulnerable, as was the case with the pogroms, or the storyline. Discovering beneficial ways to balance the individual brain's specialized functioning areas may be critical in breaking the individual and societal cycles in favor of peaceful coexistence, health, and well-being. The right brain areas bring complementary functions such as empathy and perception of beauty, music, love, and all new perceptions that are experienced through cooperation among the people and communities of the world. A better understanding of the psychology and neuroscience of fear, unexpressed emotions, and deeply held beliefs could lead to solutions to reduce the coalescing of individual mental health challenges into collective and societal hatred and violence against minorities and vulnerable populations. Gaining clarity about the impact of misinformation and propaganda influences on large population segments in our digital age of social media would maybe make possible the tools to foster a more just, safe, and peaceful coexisting society. For the central character in the movie Tevye, and later in Fiddler on the Roof, I would imagine a prayer as, "May all become enlightened, understanding, forgiving, peaceful, compassionate, accepting, and respectful of all the difference and diversity amongst us all. May there be a cessation and the burial of hatred, greed, festering division, and the tyrant's malicious thirst for power. May there be a future of unity and cooperation. May there be a union of the fiery passion of youth and the wisdom of age and the ages." I appreciate your interest. Please share with others. Subscribe to my Substack newsletter and podcast at www.inmindwise.com. All content is created and published for educational purpose only and is not intended as a substitute for professional and medical advice or to rely on for medical decisions. Always seek your health care provider regarding medical or mental health conditions. Thank you.